Welcome once again. Good Health by Claudia podcast. I am Denny Schaefer. This is a production of Denny Radio. We are in my studio at my house hanging out with Claudia, and it is episode number 64. Yes, we are clicking these babies off, and the good thing about these podcasts, Claudia, is when they share them, reaching more people. People are living better lives, healthier lives, not being controlled by, pharmaceuticals and big pharma and all of that. We're making our own choices. We're taking our health back. Now, before we get too far down the road.
That's a very big statement. That's a great statement, and it's true. People want to take their health back.
Yeah.
And it's through knowledge of understanding the products and the body. That's how we do it.
And how it reacts. Okay, so let me just go out here on a whim, Claudia.
Yeah.
Oh, your hair looks beautiful.
Oh God, it's always my hair does whatever it wants, and I just
it has a mind of its own. All right, so let me just ask you a question.
Yes.
Does everything start in the gut?
Absolutely.
How did I know that?
Everything starts in the gut, man.
Everything. It affects the brain. It affects the tissues. It affects the organs. It affects everything. Okay, so we're going to talk about gut health for this episode.
Yes.
And why is it so important to figure out what you're putting into your body and how it's affecting you?
Right.
Okay.
So do I hear a little meow going on over there?
Apparently one of my cats has invaded our studio. I'm going to go let him upstairs.
Oh, sweet.
While you continue to talk. See, this is the beauty of doing these.
Well, we talk about brain gut health every day at the store because it's connected, and it's important for people to understand what you choose to eat makes a difference in how you feel.
Okay, I'm back. What did I miss?
Well, that's what
I'm kidding. I was right on the other side there.
So that's it. I mean, it's very important. And I was looking.
So let me ask you a question before you go too far down this road.
Yep.
There are times when I'll have a meal, and I'll notice right after that meal, it doesn't happen very often because I'm usually pretty picky. But sometimes I'll have a meal, and all of a sudden I'll start feeling bad.
Right.
So isn't that the indicator that, oops, maybe I put stuff in I shouldn't?
Exactly.
But people don't pay attention to that.
Well, people aren't paying attention to how they feel because Western medicine has taught them not to pay attention.
Western medicine is bad.
It's taught them to take a pill and ignore the problem and pretend it's not there. Right. But, we're teaching people, of course you want to pay attention to what your body is trying to tell you. Honor it. That, symptoms are the language of the body. So if you're eating something, and, we teach people, connect the dots. If you have chronic headaches, chronic whatever, you always start with your food because most often people are triggering I always say, most Americans are triggering their own misery in every mouthful. I've said it for years.
Yeah.
And that's why when we teach people to connect the dots, it becomes very empowering for individuals because, if you know that a certain food is causing you whatever kind of symptomatic havoc, you have the ability to get it out of your life. And that's the beauty of understanding how food is impacting the human body. But it's very interesting. This was the first book I read. Look at this is when it was written, 1981. That was the first book I read on behavior in regard to food. This is a great book. And this, Alexander Schaus, he did some work. That's what this book is about. He did some work within some of the prison systems. This is years ago. And they took some of the young people that were in prison and inmates, and they changed their diet over X amount of weeks. And by changing their diet, removing the sugar, removing the dyes, they witnessed that the inmates that were following this protocol felt better. Their behavior was better. And even though he showed it, they could see it, do you think that they kept the junk and the sugar and everything out from the inmates? No.
Nope.
So that's the problem with when we have a system of medicine or of food that's coming out of these big corporate companies that are profit-based. They don't care about the end result. They just want somebody to buy it, eat it, get sick from it, and it's a vicious cycle for the public.
And they want to make money off it.
Exactly. So So this is a great book, Diet, Crime, Delinquency. I don't even know if you can find that book anymore. Second one I read was this one. This was in 1998. This book came out, The Second Brain. Great book, all talking about the gut-brain connection. And then, of course, this is a very good one. This is 2017. So there's years of research on this. In fact, the gut-brain connection was really identified back in the 1800s. But as many things are identified that can benefit people and their health, so much of it is ignored. So this has all been very ignored. So I'm going to keep it kind of simple because one of the biggest things that is very striking to me is that, we talk about the microbiome, the inner world within us, all the good bacteria, the bad bacteria, all the critters, as I call them. They're in us, and it's a world of its own. And it's so essentially critically important that the flora is the main critter in there. We need the good guys. And it's fair to say that in this culture, people in this culture are generationally deficient in the flora. I always talk about in my classes after World War II, and then we came into in the late 50s, early 60s, moms were going into the workforce. And what was the solution? Well, Western medicine and the soy industry created a campaign. You don't need to worry about nursing those babies. Just give them a soy formula. Very devastating for human health. There's no baby on the planet that can digest soy or be nourished by it that I know of. But more importantly, that generation did not get the good flora passed to it. And if you don't have it passed to you, you can't pass it on. This is why I'm a big fan of putting everybody at every age on probiotics. And because much of the neurotransmitters, we know that dopamine, serotonin, GABA, these are very important chemical neurotransmitters in the brain. But guess what? The flora is helping produce them in the gut. And that I find amazing. If we can ever get one of these authors on, that would be so cool. Because this is a whole conversation of its own, how the flora is participating in the health and balance of the brain and what it's doing. So I wanted to I just brought some random products just to show you some great companies and some things that you have choices of. This is a great product. When we had Brenda on from Vital Planet, this is, if you see this is a high activity, 65 billion activity, and there's 67 strains. And much of what she's put in that product is going to help that connection between the gut and the brain. So this is a wonderful product.
Which I am taking. It's my probiotic.
Yeah.
And so far, love it.
Look how clear you're thinking.
Oh, doesn't get much clearer than that, people.
Now, when we talk about brain health, of course, the omega-3s are very important, and DHA is very important at nourishing the brain. So I did bring, this is Wiley's. I wanted to bring this company today. This is a liquid, and they make one of the highest level of DHA, which is for brain health, and it's in this product. So I just wanted to show you this. It's in very high levels of DHA. I think most people are very deficient in DHA and EPA, which is why we encourage the omega-3s. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But this is another great company. You see this company? It's called Natural Stacks. And they make these products. See, this says, here, you do it. Serotonin. One is to help with serotonin levels. One is to help GABA. One is to help dopamine. So these are very critically important neurotransmitters that produce in the gut from the flora, and they go to the brain, and they're very important for helping to regulate mood and activity. GABA keeps us calm. Serotonin helps us stay up. Dopamine is, very important for pleasure and reward. They all are doing something interacting with the brain as to how we feel. So when you're low on neurotransmitters, or they can be too high, they can be one too high, one too low, whatever it might be. Most people it's been my experience, are rather low. That's when we use these products to bring up the dopamine or to bring up the serotonin or the GABA. So I just wanted to show this company because Natural Stacks is a wonderful company and customers get a lot of good results with this.
Would you take all three together?
No, I would take one at a time. I wouldn't take all
whichever
three
one
together.
you're dealing with, like serotonin,
Yep.
GABA.
And you always have to talk to your own doc about any contraindications with taking.
Are there any contraindications, doctor?
And,
You're my doctor.
well, you're not on, for people that.
I'm not on.
Yeah. So these would all be wonderful, but you don't want to do them all together. You want to do them one at a time.
Okay. So you would start this one, go through it, and then go to this one.
You can see how you feel.
But you wouldn't do them all at the same time.
No, I don't. I mean, you could. I don't know.
No, I'm not doing it.
And we might have to, I'm going to reach out and see if we can get the educator from this company. It's a great company. I just happened to grab it as
Natural Stacks.
Yeah. And
I like it.
That would be a nice conversation.
That would be.
To get into these products. But they're very safe. They're wonderful. Helping the neurotransmitters balance is very, very, very important. In fact, I was looking at the NIH yesterday.
Going to Denny's pile.
They estimate that 23% of the adult American population is dealing with mental imbalances.
Oh, yeah.
This is a lot of people. Now, I looked around. They didn't have one, at least that I found, for children. But I have to tell you, the kids that we are, the families coming in with young people, they're anxious, they're dealing with anxiety, they're dealing with depression, they're dealing with, panic attacks and all these things that we never used to see in children. We used to see them in older adults. Well, now everything that we used to see we're seeing it in younger and younger people. So with children, first and foremost, you want to change their diet. Get rid of the junk. It's so important. And everybody knows what the junk is. Everybody knows. Pop, candy, donuts, whatever. Stuff that's going to break down fast. It's all sugar. It's going to make a devastating impact to how that child or that adult behaves. And it's interesting. I talk to a lot of teachers. They see a lot of the kids after they have birthday parties at the school. The classroom was rather calm, and then they had a birthday party, and everybody's eating blue frosting and pink frosting and green junk. And the whole class gets, they get wound up and wild, and
So if you're a teacher, here you go. Do it right at the end of the day, so you can put them on the bus and be gone.
Yes, but better yet,
don't do it.
Everyone get on board. We've got to start protecting the children. They're being impacted in terrible ways by what society is allowing to do to them. And, for years, I've worked with a lot of families, many, many families over the years that have children that, they're diagnosed with, ADD, which of course I call the American diet disease, and everybody gets all wound up. But it's true, because you can take a child with that label, you change their diet, and you'll have a new child.
Yeah.
You'll see quickly. So the sugar addiction is a serious, serious problem in the United States. And of course, the food industry is happy to dump sugar into everything.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to do it for ourselves. And most importantly, we have to do it for the children.
It's for the children, people.
So I'm a fan of clean protein. I'm a fan of lots of veggies. I personally think some people are eating too much fruit. They're eating fruit all day long. Fruit is a wonderful sugar, but nonetheless, it's still a sugar. So, I just think people are doing too much fruit in one day altogether. So, but veggies and protein, very, very important.
Right, but at the end of a meal, and you want to have a dessert or something sweet, you don't want to reach for the cookie or the cake. You pop in a couple of grapes and that'll satisfy.
Or you do some berries, or whatever it might be. Yes.
I do raisins sometimes just to get just get that sweet taste and then move on.
Yeah. So gut-brain health is very critically important. I wish that more people would start paying attention to when they eat something and how they actually feel. So actually, that might be a good homework for everybody to do.
Oh,
there
homework.
You go.
This is the first time. It's episode 64 and you finally got homework, people.
There's some homework. Start paying attention to how you feel before you eat something and how you feel after. And the after could be an hour later. It can be several hours later. Remember, if somebody has a slow transit time, meaning they have a history of constipation, it could take hours for that impact to show. So we have a lot of people that will tell me they felt good before they ate dinner and they woke up feeling crummy. Well, whatever they ate at dinner was the problem.
Right.
So mindfulness, become mindful of what you're eating and how it makes you feel. It's a really, really important thing. And it's simple. And, you know, when people go to doctors and, you know, it's important that that the more aware you are of your own health, the more you're going to help the doctor.
Yeah.
You know, because they're not trained in food. They have not been trained in the impact of food. That's why a lot of doctors still tell people, oh, what you eat doesn't matter. It's like, well, then get a new doctor because, you know, if you've got all these years of all these books and all this research talking about what you put here affects here, any doctor that doesn't recognize that at this point, I'd move on.
So what about timing of when you eat dinner? You know, I'll have friends that, you know, in times say, hey, why don't you and Sharon, you know, let's go to dinner at like 8, 7:30. And I'm like, no, I've already eaten. I like to eat at 5:30 because I like my body. Because if I stay up till 10 or 11 at the latest, I want my body a chance to digest it and all that. So is timing when you eat, does that have any effects on it?
Well, I know that a lot of customers over the years have told me when they eat too late, it can throw their sleep off.
Yeah.
And well, because all your energy's in your gut trying to digest what you ate when it should be kicking in while you're sleeping to help repair and all the things that the body does when we're sleeping. So I personally think eating too late is not good. But you know, everybody has a different lifestyle. And so if you're going to eat late, I'm a fan of eating, you know, I'm a fan of eating protein, that's right for an individual. In fact, we have a lot of people over the years, because they have blood sugar imbalances. And when they do some kind of a protein, whether it's whatever, piece of chicken or fish or a shake or something, they feel better when they're sleeping. They feel better when they wake up because they don't have blood sugar instability. So, you know, everyone is very different. I personally don't like eating too late either.
Yeah,
so,
I don't either.
Yeah.
Maybe it's our age. We like eating dinner at 3:30.
I was going to say my sons who are, you know, 29 and 31, you know, they'll work out to 9:30 at night and then come home and eat. But they're young. They can do that.
Right.
So
they're different metabolism.
Yes. Yep. So, but there was one other thing I wanted to, about the omega-3s. Everyone needs to be on omega-3s. Everybody needs a good omega-3. And
why?
Well, because the omega-3s, we call them essential fatty acids because they're essential for human health, human wellness. So the omega-3s are EPA, which nourishes the heart, DHA nourishes the brain, and that product that I showed you with all that high level of DHA, this product helps a lot of people. We also have high levels of DHA in capsule form. We were just out of one that I was going to pull. So, but Wiley's, we like to stick to the family owned. Carlson, Wiley's, Nordic, they're all very great companies. They test for heavy metals. And that was another thing I wanted to say. It's very important you take a good quality company that tests for heavy metals. If you're taking a fish oil that has not been tested for heavy metals, I wouldn't purchase it. So those are the companies. As I said, Wiley's, we offer Carlson. They were one of the original to bring omega-3s to the marketplace. And of course, Nordic is a great company also. Now makes some nice products. Anyway, I just grabbed that one because it was so high in DHA.
Okay. So, and a lot of these products you can order off your website.
Well, you'll be able to. We'll let you know.
Getting close.
We're getting close.
This close.
We're almost there. It's a big undertaking.
Yep. Healthfoodsbyclaudia.com. Healthfoodsbyclaudia.com.
But we'll let everybody know when that, because we get a lot of orders over the phone, which I'm grateful. We ship all over the country. But once people can just click a button and do all that, it'll be easier. But, you know, we appreciate everybody that has to ship stuff. So
we do.
Yeah. So anything you want to ask?
No, I just, you know, I guess the keeping track or or paying attention. Like I have an app and I track everything I eat. And I know for a lot of people, it's just like, oh my gosh, you know, because my wife thinks I'm crazy for that reason and many others. But it's how I can keep track of my weight and how I feel and my sleep. And if you're not getting enough sleep, and I think that's one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough, is how important sleep is.
Yes.
If you're not getting 7 to 8 hours a night, it's going to affect your mood. It's going to affect everything. I know when I really have, and I even have a sleep app, so it tracks like how deep I sleep and all that. But what I eat at night, what I have for dinner can really affect my sleep. And, you know, that's when your body heals. So
that's when the body is repairing. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we could ever do an entire podcast on sleep, but
yeah,
it might be something that we might want to look at. But, you know, it affects, you know, how late you eat, what you eat. It affects your stomach and your gut. And
it affects everything.
It's going to affect every part of your being.
And of course, you know, the people in our community, they all know I'm a fan of eating according to the blood type. Mm-hmm. And I always say, if you ask 50 different people, what's the right way to eat? You're going to get 50 different answers. I can only share to others what I've witnessed for myself.
Right. And
what I've witnessed all these years with the blood typing, it's a pretty amazing protocol. We're actually, I'm hoping to have somebody and we'll interview somebody from Dr. Diadamo's group. But you know, again, what we've seen when people eat according to their blood type,
right?
You know, they feel calmer, they feel better, they feel like we should feel when you're eating the right foods that are meant to fuel this body. When we fuel ourselves properly, now we feel good throughout the day. We have a productive day. But it's interesting. We have a lot of people talk about sleep. You know, they'll tell me, though, they've been to the doctor for this and that. And I'll ask them, well, tell me a general, what are you eating throughout the day? Well, it's all sugar. It's all sugar forming foods. They start with a muffin or a biscuit or a bagel or a cereal. And then they're doing lunch, which is fast food and pop. And then they're eating cookies and candy in the middle of the day. It's ongoing, and the body has to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
Of course, it has a terrible impact on how we feel, and especially and we see it really strongly in children, as I said, when the kids are brought to us with these labels and the parents are willing to change the diet. It's amazing. These parents have called over the years and said in a week they had a different child, calmer, you know, able to focus, able to have a conversation. So all of these things are very, very important. So
eating to your blood type, though, is the reason why I'm not yo-yoing with my weight anymore, because I do it. I'd go up to 250, get down to 205, go to 250, 205. Since you turned me onto that book, and do I always eat to my blood type? That would be no. I allow myself one burger a month only because my body does not break down beef.
You're an A.
I'm A.
You're an A blood type.
So it doesn't break it down. But do I have a bacon cheeseburger once a month? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But I really pay attention to what I put into my body. And I know, like, my body does not break down pasta. So I avoid pasta.
Yeah.
But I can eat salmon and, you know, salads and chicken and, you know, a lot of other stuff. But because of that book and just having the knowledge, I know what to avoid. And it's helped me maintain a healthy weight without the ballooning, the yo-yoing. So anyway, I'm excited if we can get somebody on.
Yeah. And you've done a great job with that. You've done a wonderful job of embracing your own health. And I respect it, you know, and I'm proud of you. Listen, it's a commitment. And I tell everybody that's embracing their own health that I respect it and I'm proud of them because, you know, it's a big commitment.
It is.
And in regard to how we eat, you know, we're all human. I mean, we do things, if we do something like a burger once a month and you enjoy it, but you're not eating it the rest of the month,
right? That's
fine for your blood type. That's fine. It's when people are doing what they shouldn't do every single day that it becomes a critical imbalance in the body. So you're doing a great job. And now I'm an O blood type. I am carnivorous. And, it's interesting. I've worked with a lot of people over the years that were O blood types that were vegan, and which I was as a younger, when I was in my, I was vegan when I worked at Bassett's all those years ago. I mean, we sprouted wheatgrass, grew wheatgrass and did wheatgrass juicing. And all the food was sprouted and all these things, but I wasn't eating meat. And, for me as an O blood type, and that was before the book came out.
Right.
And when the book came out, it made sense to me why back then I didn't feel as well as I should have. And when I incorporated meat back into my diet, of course, we always encourage people, clean meat, grass-fed, small farms, stay away from the mega farms. This is a problem. Somebody the other day was talking to me. They're all upset about, the algal blooms and the water and the Great Lakes. And,
every summer.
Well, he's going through a fast food restaurant 5 days a week, and people need to get that connection, So that's a different story.
It is.
That's a different story. So what I want to say is, for those of you that eat meat, if you're going to eat meat, and mainly it's the O blood type, do clean. Be mindful where you're getting the meat. It's very, very important to the bigger picture of what we're talking about. But
all right, that is good stuff. Is there anything else you want to mention as we wrap it up?
There's a lot of things that we didn't talk about. We will over time, digestive enzymes and how they help. Very important. Well, that's a podcast of its own. So, but for the meantime, be mindful of what you're eating, connect the dots.
You have homework.
And you have homework.
Write down, pay attention, how you feel after you eat, before you eat, later on, how you sleep.
You'll be glad you did it. Keep a journal.
And share the podcast, please. Share this so the information gets out to people, because the more people that know this stuff, the better people are going to feel, and you will have a part in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're in the schools, remember, all the parents, quit taking junk to the schools. Come together. Be a support group for each other.
Yeah.
But there's actually parents that get ridiculed in the schools if they want to feed their kids healthy. It's so ridiculous. So everyone put your arm around that, because it's all for the children, and we need our children to be healthy. Right now, unfortunately, they are not, but we need them to.
And they are our future.
They are our future. It's very important.
They're going to take care of us when we're in the old folks' home. And we want them healthy.
Right.
All right. Thank you. Episode 64. Awesome.
You.
And always, Claudia, I am going to give you the last words.
Thank you.
Final words, last words.
Those are my last words. Everybody join in, become mindful, take care of the children. They deserve it. We owe it to them. Society's junked them out. Society needs to help these children. And it has to start with the adult. This is what I learned a long time ago. The children are not the problem. It's the adult. So keep the faith, everybody, and know that we can reclaim our health. It's all in our hands and in our heart. So peace.